Are you wondering how to save money when buying a home without breaking your budget? Today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful tools in your home buying toolkit, seller concessions. If you've never heard this term before or you're confused about how they work, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll tell you all about what you need to know about seller concessions in real estate so that you're aware of the best home buyer tips in 2025. Here we go. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dafna, your local real estate broker. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My mission is to guide you through a home selling and buying experience for a smooth transaction and a successful closing. Before we jump in, I'm curious. Comment below and let me know if you're currently in the home buying process or if you heard about seller concessions before but weren't exactly sure how they work. I love hearing from fellow home buyers. Alright, so moving on. I would strongly recommend that you get to know all about seller concessions that would literally save you thousands of dollars on your next home purchase. And according to the latest 2025 data from Redfin, nearly 45% of home sales now include seller concessions. That's up from just 39% last year. Let's start with the basics. What's the definition of seller concessions? Simply put, seller concessions are financial incentives where the seller agrees to cover certain buyer costs to help close the deal. Think of it as sellers saying, hey, I really want to sell my house, so I'm willing to help you with some of your expenses to make this work for both of us. These aren't just random gifts, they're strategic business decisions that can benefit everyone involved in the transaction. What are seller concessions in practical terms? They're credit that can apply to closing to reduce your out-of-pocket expenses. The seller essentially uses a portion of the proceeds from the sale to help you with costs that would normally come straight out of your pocket. According to the National Association of Realtors, these concessions can take many different forms, but they all serve the same purpose, making home ownership more accessible by reducing your upfront financial burden. In 2025, we're seeing sellers get more creative with these concessions than ever before. They might cover your closing costs, pay for necessary repairs, help buy down your mortgage rate, or even cover HOA fees for several months. The key thing to understand is that this money doesn't magically appear. It comes from seller equity in the home, and it's negotiated as part of your purchase contract. You might be wondering, why would a seller want to give me money? Great question. Sellers offer concessions for several strategic reasons, and understanding their motivations can help you negotiate with sellers in real estate more effectively. The biggest reasons we're seeing in 2025 is market conditions. With inventory at 5-year high and buyers' demand sluggish due to elevated mortgage rates and economic uncertainty, sellers are feeling more pressure to make their properties attractive. According to recent data, Seattle leads the nation with over 71% of sales, including seller concessions, nearly double from the previous year. This dramatic increase shows just how much the market has shifted in favor of buyers. Sellers who bought at the peak of the market in 2021 and 2022 are now facing the reality that they need to rebuy at higher mortgage rates, making them nervous about their net proceeds. Rather than dropping the listing price, many sellers prefer to offer concessions because it allows them to maintain their target sale price while still providing value to buyers. This is particularly common when homes have been sitting on the market longer than expected. The variety of sellers' concessions available in today's market might surprise you. When people think about what closing costs are when buying a house, they often focus on the major categories. But seller concessions can cover almost anything that appears on your closing disclosure. The most common type is closing cost assistance, where seller help cover expenses like loan origination fees, appraisal costs, title insurance, and inspection fees. These costs typically range from 2% to 5% of your home purchase price. So on a $400,000 home, you would be looking at $8,000 to $20,000 in closing costs. But 2025 has brought some interesting new trends in concessions type. Mortgage rate buy-downs have become increasingly popular, where sellers pay for discount points to permanently reduce your interest rate or fund temporarily buy-downs that lower your rate for the first few years. For example, a 2-to-1 buy-down might reduce your rate by 2% in the first year and 1% in the second year before returning to the original rate. Some sellers are even covering monthly expenses like HOA fees for several months to help buyers ease into their new financial responsibilities. Repair-related concessions are also common, where a seller provides funds for you to handle necessary improvements after closing rather than completing the work themselves. Here's where seller concessions become a real game changer for your home buying strategy and one of the most effective ways to save money when buying a home. The primary benefit is reducing your cash to close requirements, which can make homeownership accessible even if you're working with limited savings. Let's say you're buying a $350,000 home with 5% down. Your down payment will be $17,500, and with closing costs of approximately 3%, you'd need another $10,500, bringing your total cash requirements to around $28,000. But if the seller agrees to cover $8,000 in concessions, your out-of-pocket expense drops to $20,000, a savings of $8,000 that stays in your bank account. This cash preservation is particularly valuable for first-time homebuyers who may have scrapped together just enough for down payment, but are concerned about having emergency funds left over after closing. According to 2025 market data, many buyers are using seller concession specifically to maintain a financial cushions rather than depleting their entire savings account for the home purchase. The timing benefits are also significant. Instead of waiting months or years to save additional money for closing costs, seller concessions allow qualified buyers to move forward with their purchase immediately. If you're actively looking to buy a home and want expert guidance or negotiation seller concession, or any other part of the home buying process, I'd love to help you out. Give me a call, send me an email, or better yet, hop into my calendar using the link in the description. I would love to meet you and help make your home buying journey as successful as possible. Timing is everything in real estate, and knowing when you're most likely to successfully negotiate seller concessions can significantly improve your strategy. The current market conditions in 2025 have created an ideal environment for buyer concessions. With 44.4% of home sales, including concessions, compared to 39.3% in 2024, we're approaching the record high of 45.1% set in 2023. This trend is directly tied to several market factors that favor buyers. You most commonly see seller concessions in buyer's market where inventory is higher and homes are taking longer to sell. When sellers are competing for limited pool of qualified buyers, they become more willing to sweeten their offers through concessions. Geographic locations plays a huge role to cities like Seattle at 71.3%, Portland at 63.9%, and Atlanta at 61.5% are seeing the highest concession rates, while markets like New York at 5.5% and San Francisco at 14.9% remain more seller favorable. New constructions home are another area where concessions are extremely common. According to the National Associations of Home Builders, 61% of new constructions home in 2025 came with some form of rate incentive. Successfully negotiating seller concessions requires strategy, timing, and skilled representations. This is where knowing how to negotiate with sellers in real estate and working with experienced negotiation strategies with a real estate agent become crucial. The key is approaching concessions as part of your overall offer strategy rather than an afterthought. Your agent should analyze market data to determine realistic concessions amount based on recent comparable sales and current market conditions. Data-driven negotiations work best. Instead of simply asking for concessions, your offer should include justifications based on inspection findings, comparable sales, or market conditions. For example, if similar homes sold with 4% concessions, your requests for similar assistance become more reasonable. The timing of your concessions request matter enormously as well. Initial offers that include concessions are generally more successful than trying to negotiate them later in the process. However, the home inspection period provides another excellent opportunity to request concessions for newly discovered issues. Understanding concession limits is absolutely critical because exceeding them can derail your entire transactions. These limits aren't suggestions, they're strict rules enforced by lenders based on your loan type, and violating them can result in loan denial even if the seller agrees to your request. The current 2025 limits vary significantly by loan program, so let me break down exactly what you need to know. For conventional loans, the limit depends on your down payment amount. With 3 to 9.9% down, you can receive up to 3% of purchase price in concessions. If you put down 10 to 24.99%, the limit increased to 6%. With 25% or more down, you can receive up to 9% in seller concessions. FHA, USDA, and VA loans allow up to 6% in seller concessions, but VA loans have an additional benefit. They can cover all your normal closing costs plus an additional 4%. Investment properties have the most restrictive limits at just 2% of the purchase price. This is where smart buyers can save significant money by understanding the mathematical differences between price reductions and seller concessions. While both options reduce your costs, they affect your finance very differently, and choosing the wrong approach could cost you thousands over the life of the loan. The fundamental differences lies how each approach impacts your loan amount and long-term costs. When seller reduces the listing price, you're borrowing less money, which means lower monthly payments and less interest paid over the loan's lifetime. However, you'll need more cash at closing to cover your closing costs. Conversely, seller concessions maintain the higher purchase price, meaning you borrow more, but they reduce your immediate cash requirements. Using current 2025 market examples, let's say you're looking at a home listed for $400,000. Option 1. Negotiate the price down to $385,000 and pay all closing costs yourself, approximately $12,000. Option 2. Keep the price at $400,000 but negotiate $15,000 in seller concessions. With option 1, you're financing $15,000 less, which over a 30-year mortgage at 7% interest rate would save you approximately $36,000 in interest payments. While seller concessions can be incredibly beneficial, it's important to understand the potential drawbacks so you can make informed decisions about your home buying strategy. The biggest concern in competitive markets is that requesting concessions can make your offer less attractive compared to a clean, no concessions offers from other buyers. In situations with multiple offers, sellers often prefer buyers who aren't asking for additional financial assistance, even if the net proceeds are similar. Appraisal issues represent another significant risk. When you negotiate concessions that increase the purchase price above market value, you run the risk of the home not appraising for the inflated amount. If a $380,000 home gets contracted for $395,000 with $15,000 in concessions, but the appraisal comes at $380,000, you could face serious financial complications. Long-term financial costs are another consideration. By maintaining higher purchase price through concessions, you're financing more money over 30 years, which increase your total interest payments significantly. Here is the bottom line. Seller concessions are an incredibly powerful tool in today's 2025 housing market, but they require strategic thinking, proper timing, and expert guidance to use effectively. With nearly half of all home sales now including some form of seller concessions, understanding how to leverage this strategy could be the difference between achieving home ownership this year or continuing to rent. The key is viewing concessions as part of your overall home buying strategy rather than just a way to reduce upfront costs. Success with seller concessions requires three critical elements: market knowledge, professional representations, and realistic expectations. You need to understand your local market conditions. Are you in the buyer's market like Seattle, where 71% of sales include concessions, or a seller's market like New York, where only 5.5% do? Your negotiation approach should adjust accordingly. Working with experienced professionals who understand the current market dynamics, lender requirements, and negotiation strategies is absolutely essential. As we wrap up today's deep dive into seller concessions, I hope you now understand why this strategy has become so important in today's real estate market. Remember, the key to successful concession negotiation is preparation, professional representations, and realistic expectations based on current market conditions. If you're thinking about buying a home and want to explore whether seller concessions make sense for your specific situation, I'd love to help you navigate this process. Every buyer's circumstances are unique, and there is no substitute for personal advice based on your financial goals, local market conditions, and specific property interests. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can check out more of my videos by clicking on the boxes on your screen or in the description below. And if you need help in selling your current home before buying a new one, then you can use my free guide, about listing strategies I use to sell homes fast and for top dollar. You can simply download it from here to access it. And if you want to connect with me directly, all my contact info is in the description as well. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with new videos. This is Dafna, and I'll see you in the next one.